The SS Manasoo, originally named the Macassa, from 1888 to 1928. The Manasoo was owned by a number of different companies, from the Hamilton Steamship Company of 1888 to 1911, the Niagara Navigation Company from 1911 to 1912, the Richelieu and Ontario Navigation Company from 1912 to 1913, Canada Steamship Lines from 1913 to 1927, and finally, her last, Owen Sound Transportation Company, from 1927 to 1928. In 1887, the Hamilton Steamboat Company, a fleet managed by Tunis Bruce Griffith of Hamilton, Ontario, placed an order for a steel steamship with William Hamilton and Company. This was a shipyard which was located on the banks of the River Clyde in Port Glasgow, Scotland. The hull number 64 was built at William Hamilton and Company's Glenyard, and she was christened as the Macassa. The Macassa was licensed to carry 536 passengers, and was equipped with an elegant interior consisting of carved, polished hardwood panels throughout her. She had velvet sofas, silk curtains, and velvet carpets. The Macassa was also equipped with electric lights. She had only a single tall mast, which was located behind her pilot house. This, however, was with the exception of a small cabin designed to shelter the passengers and crew. The promenade deck was completely open, while her main deck was enclosed. The Manasoo was clinker built. Her hull was 155 feet long. Her beam was 24.1 feet wide, while her hull was 16.3 feet. Some other sources actually state that it may have been 16 feet, or 16.25 feet. The Manasoo had a gross tonnage of 574 tons and a net tonnage of 459 tons. The Manasoo was powered by two 410 horsepower triple expansion steam engines. Steam for the engine was provided by a single coal-fired Scotch marine boiler, which had a working pressure of 150 pounds per square inch. The engine was built by William Kemp of Glasgow, Scotland, and the boiler was manufactured by Burnett and Company of Govan. The Manasoo had a top speed of around 18 knots, which is 20.7 miles per hour, and she was propelled by two fixed-pitch propellers. For most of the Macassa's career, she was engaged in passenger trade between Hamilton and Toronto, Ontario. In her early career, she also stopped at Lorne Park, Oakville, and Burlington Beach, Ontario. While in Hamilton on August 11, 1892, a deckhand on board the Macassa leaned against a gangway while trying to fill a bucket of water. This deckhand unfortunately fell overboard and drowned. After the lucrative 1928 shipping season, the SS Manasoo was actually open to special commissions. Cowman Donald Wallace of Oil Springs, Ontario, and his friend Thomas Lambert, also of Oil Springs, drove to Owen Sound, where they boarded the Manasoo. Wallace had planned to purchase cattle from several farmers from around Manitou Island. Captain John Mackay of the Manasoo began her voyage on September 13th. She sailed to West Bay, Ontario, and then she proceeded to Manitowoc, Ontario, where she loaded two automobiles on her. She left Manitowoc for Owen Sound at 12 p.m. on September 14th, with 19 crewmen and 2 passengers, and she had 115 cows and 1 bull aboard her. By the time the Manasoo had cleared the North Channel of Lake Huron, there was a massive storm that had begun to develop. At around 2 a.m. the next day, the Manasoo began to list to port. Captain Mackay eventually made the decision to beach the Manasoo on the nearby Griffith Island. After some time had passed, the Manasoo's starboard bilge lifted out of the water, causing water to leak throughout the gangways and other openings. There was only one lifeboat, which was launched before the Manasoo rolled over onto her port side and sank stern first. The storm was severe, and the Manasoo sank in 3 to 5 minutes. The only lifeboat that was able to launch also capsized. A life raft broke loose when the Manasoo sank, and only 6 of the crew, including Captain McKay, were able to climb aboard. One of the crew, Chief Engineer Thomas McCochin, died of exposure, and his clothes were distributed among the survivors. After floating on the life raft for over 60 hours, the survivors were rescued by the Canadian Pacific Railway steamer Manitoba. In total, 16 of the 21 people aboard the Manasoo died, along with all the cattle and the bull. The exact specifics for the Manasoo's sinking, however, remain unknown, but it is believed to be a combination of the shifting cattle within her and the massive waves from the storm on Lake Huron. The wreck of the SS Manasoo was discovered on June 30th, 2018. This was after a 4-day search using side scanner sonar. She was found by shipwreck hunters Jerry Aleison and Ken Merriman of Minnesota, and maritime historian Chris Cole of Windsor, Ontario. Aleison and Merriman had unsuccessfully tried to locate her back in 2017. After searching more than 30 square miles of water, Cole suggested that they take a closer look towards shore. He had found a newspaper account published in 1928, which had stated that the Manasoo's wreck had been located a few weeks after she was sunk. The wreck of the Manasoo rests in 210 feet of water, just off of Griffith Island. The wreck is intact, however, she is covered with zebra mussels. Her stern is buried in the lake bottom, and the bow is pointing upwards at a 10 to 15 degree angle. The pilot house and helm are intact, and the Manasoo's collapsed funnel and 2 of her lifeboats are located on her deck. And still within the Manasoo is the wreck of Wallace's 1927 Chevrolet Coupe, with its number plates still attached. And that is the story of the SS Manasoo. It sounds like she was quite the looker for her day out on the Great Lakes, a gorgeous vessel, and making all these special commissions and deliveries when she was in her off season. Definitely sad to see something like her sink, but more importantly, taking 16 of the 21 people down with her. I mean, how many of these ship stories that I cover are caught off guard by these freak storms that develop over the Great Lakes? Especially with how long ago it happened, it was so hard to really gauge that type of weather activity going out in the Great Lakes. And I don't doubt for a second the risk that the sailors and crew members and passengers even riding on them took going out each and every time. But yeah, very sad. I hope this story is not forgotten and brings light to the crew members that died on her, but also that we can learn from these, and hopefully never again will there be accidents like this, especially in modern times today. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. This was quite a fascinating ship and story. I, for one, had never heard of her until doing my research for her and about her. But yeah, she was a gorgeous vessel. Definitely worth her story and mention here on this channel. And always interesting to hear another story from Lake Huron. But that will be it for today, guys. I appreciate your likes, comments, subscriptions, all that good stuff. And I'm really enjoying how 2025 is going for this channel. Still working on some stuff. Hopefully it can come to light later this year or sooner. But yeah, thank you again for joining me on this episode of Songs of the Great Lakes. Until next time, God bless you all.